Hello System Traders, Jeff here from System Trader Success. In this short video, I'm going to show you Dynamic Open, and what I'm going to show you is the power of the Dynamic Open and also show you how to create a Shale trading system in just a few minutes using these powerful tools that come with this package. Now the Dynamic Open revolutionizes breakout trading, and I don't say that lightly. This is a really fascinating piece of software that's extremely powerful, and it's absolutely unique to anything that's out there. In fact, if you decide to purchase this package, you're going to have to sign an NDA. That's a non-disclosure agreement with the creator, Murray Ruggiero, because this software is so sensitive and the concept is so new. But without further ado, let me show you the power of this. I'm going to go through some demonstrations on the excellent tools that come with this package, and then, like I said, the last few minutes we're going to attempt to build a prototype trading system using the very tools in this package. I think you're going to be extremely impressed with what you're going to see, so let's jump right in. Again, the Dynamic Open is a set of functions and strategies that you can freely use to build your own trading systems. Let me show you how easy this can be to build powerful trading systems. So the first thing to demonstrate really what is the Dynamic Open Toolkit. I've loaded on here a 5-minute chart of the gold futures contract, and it's a continuous contract, and we're running the 5-minute bar 24/7. So you can see here it holds through the overnight. If we go insert a strategy, if you go to ORB, you'll find a whole bunch of strategies. These are all the strategies that are available within the toolkit. So the first thing you'll notice is there's a big group of them, just ORB and then ORB2. The first group, ORB, contains the classic breakout. So this is with the static open for the market. So you have the Crable, and you have different variations of the Crable. You have Knight and different variations of that, and of course Larry Williams. And then of course we have those duplicated in ORB2, which also contains the DYN prefix here above the Crable or of the Knight. And what that is, of course, is the Dynamic Open. You have all these strategies you can play with. So let's start here with the classic Crable stretch. Let's find that. Here it is, Crable stretch simple. So this again is the static time-based Crable stretch formula, and we can insert this into our chart. And let's look at the default parameters. Okay, the first input that we're looking at, LSB, is long, short, or both. You'd enter a 1 here to go long, and that is the default value. You would enter a value of -1 to go short, or you would enter 0 to do both. And let's just leave that for both. And then end of day exit, that's false. So at the end of the trading day, if you have an open trade, we're going to hold on to it. If you put this to true, it's going to close at the end of the day. Let's just see what this looks like so we can get a feel for it. Okay, so you can see it's taking long and short trades throughout. And you can see it's holding it throughout multiple days. Let's go back in here. Let's say we want to do this for an end of day. And here you can see that the close of the day is now taking place. So you effectively turn this into a day trading strategy where you're not going to be holding your trades throughout the overnight session. Okay, I went over here and changed this back to the default value for our Crable stretch simple. And also I created a copy of the chart, and what I want to insert now is the Dynamic Open version to see how it functions differently. So let's go to ORB2, Dynamic Crable simple. And here are the default values. We're going to leave the default values as is. Okay, on this trade here, we can see that we entered at 10:59 on November 30th. And this one actually over here on the static version, we can see actually we've entered at the same time. So we can see that these don't always differ, but let's find another one. Here's a sell short. And if you look over to the right, where the sell short was supposed to happen here on, let's see, about 5:15 in the morning, we can see that there's no trade at all. Likewise here, we should have a breakout taking place, and you can see where the cursor is highlighting over on the chart with a dynamic, there's nothing, not even a trade. In fact, it happened much later. So you can see the difference between the two. And just with the default parameters, let's bring up the equity graph. With the default parameters, and we just load this into a chart, no slippage or commissions, this is what the equity curve looks like with the classic Crable breakout on the gold market on a 5-minute chart. And now let's see what it looks like with the default parameters with a dynamic open. Look at that. It's dramatically different. So you can see these are functioning completely different. As demonstrated in the article on System Trader Success, you can see that over a basket of commodities that this performs twice as well overall. And looking at the gold market, you could clearly see the difference between the classic breakout, which looks like this, and the dynamic open, which looks like this. Let's take a quick look at the other strategies that come with the dynamic open toolkit. Okay, as you can see, look how great this is. We have all these different functions in here that we can insert. So we were looking at the Crable stretch simple, but you can see there's other things in here. Crable stretch with moving average filter, Crable stretch with a condition, Crable stretch NR, Crable NR stretch. And we have quite a variety here. Also, then you can go down to the night functions and of course the Larry Williams. Inside the documentation that comes along with the Open Range Breakout Toolkit, you can see that there's a bunch of strategies here and they're all explained what each of them means. And just in general here, real briefly, so here's our Crable stretch simple, and you'll also see a version with MA filter. This is just a simple moving average filter applied to the chart that has to be verified before we can take a trade. There's also a WR stretch with the moving average filter. You can see in this one, right, you have our simple moving average filter and you have a widest range filter. That's what the WX is. So the name gives away a little bit of what we have in terms of the filters also that are built into this. So these are great because you could load these in and quickly test like moving average filters and in this case a wide range filter. Likewise with WR, the wide range filter, we also have a Crable NR, narrow range filter. Whereas the wide range filter, we only enter trades during the widest day of the last X number of days back. Well, here we need the narrowest range day over X number of days. See how easy it is to insert a moving average filter. So let's go to insert another strategy. We were looking at the ORB2 Crable simple, but we can also add a simple moving average to that as well. So dynamic Crable moving average filter. Go look at the inputs, and MA is the length of our moving average. So we can put a 50 in there. Let's put 100 and leave everything else default. And then off to the right hand side, I added a daily chart with a 50 period moving average. And indeed, that's exactly what's going on. Is the trading system, even though I've loaded this onto a 15-minute chart with no other data stream, this will calculate the daily open and close and build that moving average based upon the daily data. So if we come in here, let's try to find a trade. Here we go. So you can see this one's being taken, and if you look to the right hand side, you can see that on the daily chart, that thin blue line is the 50-day moving average, and we're well above that value. So it's only taking trades when price is above that 50-day moving average. That's how quickly and easily you can test a different filter like that. And of course, as you looked in here, there was all types of other filters that we are looking at inside the manual and can easily load here. Let me show you one that's really interesting, and it's called condition, C-O-N-D. You'll see numerous ones with that type of parameter. If we load that one, let me turn off this other one, and go in here, you'll see that there is a long condition and a short condition. And this is really cool. What you can do in here is enter any valid easy language statement that evaluates to true or false. And what this acts as is a filter. So this is a custom filter you can access and build and test without actually coding. So for example, the long condition, which is the one we're on now, we're only going to take long trades if the breakout occurs when the RSI of the closing price with a period of 14 is greater than 50. So we're looking for an RSI with the close above 50. Of course, this would only happen on the close, which means the close of the 15-minute chart. If you put data 2, you can actually have that happen on the daily as well. But what's another thing you can put in here? You could also do, let's say, close must be greater than the average close the past 20 days, or 20 bars, excuse me. So you can put any easy language code into these conditions here, and they will act as filters. It's a quick way to test an idea to see if it works or not. But you know what, for you hardcore programmers, this is the best feature. All of the functions that I've been showing you in that massive list of available functions is available in easy language. So you can go right into your editor and get access to the code. So we're looking at the ORB2 dynamic Crable condition. And you can see in here, here are the two conditions, condition long and condition short, and where it's testing for those. But here is the dynamic stretch. So the stretch value is being passed back by this function, and this is the dynamic Crable stretch function right there. So you could take this function and use it in your own trading system. In other words, you can use this and build all kinds of custom filters around it. You can also use this in very unique ways. Perhaps what you want to do is use the Crable stretch as a filter for your own trading system. In other words, if price is trading above this dynamic stretch level, hey, that's when you're going to take long trades, and vice versa for short trades when it's below it. So gaining access to this entire library's easy language code, it's completely open source. That's a real big bonus that can really help you with your own custom trading. And I know that's something that I'm extremely interested in as well. So we've taken a quick look here at how you can quickly add different components to a chart, and I explained what some of the differences are. Let's try to prototype a trading model just using the functions provided in this toolkit. In other words, we're going to try to do this without accessing easy language directly. Let's see what we come up with. I have the gold futures chart here. It's a 15-minute chart of the continuous contract for the past 5 years. So let's try to build a prototype of a trading system using only the strategy components provided with the dynamic open toolbox. That means we're not going to go to easy language. We're going to quickly prototype this just using what's provided with the toolbox. And let's see what we can build here in just a few minutes. Okay, first of all, I did add commissions and slippage. I went ahead and just added $25 for a round trip. Excuse me, $25 per side. So that's a $50 round trip for slippage and commissions. And what I have loaded is just our standard simple Crable with no filters and just the default value. And you can see that's what the equity curve looks like. Let's try inserting a dynamic Crable narrow range condition. So let's turn off the simple and look at the inputs. We want to go long and short, so we'll change this to a 0. We're not going to mess with these custom conditions for right now. what we're interested in is the narrow range. So we have a 7 in there now as a default. We'll look at that first. So again, what this means is yesterday must have been the narrowest trading range over the past 7 days. And the theory behind this is as the market contracts and gets calmer, it's getting loading up potential energy for a breakout. And when the breakout does occur, we're going to see a lot of volatility moving in our direction. So 7 days. Let's see what this does to our equity curve. Okay, that's really ugly. That actually pushed it into negative territory. So maybe with the gold market, we have to treat it differently. We can do the opposite thing, and that is before we start taking breakout trades, we don't want to see the actual trading range shrinking. We want to see the trading range expanding. So we'll load a Crable wide range filter. So dynamic Crable wide range with our condition. This one here. We'll remove the narrow range. Look at the inputs here. Let's make this a 0, so we're taking long and short. Again, not touching those. So this yesterday had to be the widest trading day over the last 7 days. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, this looks a lot better. We have significantly fewer trades, but a lot of the trades seem to be producing profits. So this is looking much better. All right, let's take a look at this 7 value. So that's the widest day over the past 7 days. Let's actually optimize over that. Let's do 2 through 15 in increments of 1. We'll let this optimize. Pause the video and we'll come back when it's finished. Okay, here is the bar graph. This is the narrow range days, the wide ranging day number, 2 through 15, and this is our net profit. And we can see that these work really well. 3 through 5 work pretty well, and then it falls off fairly sharply. Of course, an interesting phenomena is the actual average trade size. As you require more and more of those days before you start trading, you get actual trades up here. Average trade size is above 2,000, which is really interesting. But of course, you're going to be sacrificing the number of trades. If you look at number of trades, look at this. It just completely falls off. So we're going to want to stay around down this range as well, just because we'll have more trades around the 3 or 4. So often Crable came up with 4 or 7 as a default. 7 doesn't seem to work nearly as well as for shorter range, shorter number of days as a qualifier. So we're just going to pick a value of 4. Nothing is stopping us from actually coming in here. What you could do is do a dynamic Crable only long on this one, and then load this one again and do it for the short side. And that way you can have independent parameters for the long and short side. Just a little idea there. So this is what our performance is looking like. $106,000 per trade. $106,000 net profit, 1.5 profit factor. We're getting about $700, just under, per trade, and drawdown is 58 from peak from valley. And you can see what this looks like. Kind of ugly over here, right? And then kind of moving up. It did make a new equity high early in 2015. All right, we've taken a look at our widest ranging day. Let's look at these, the average length and the average multiplier, which are actually used in the breakout calculations. So let's take a look at the average length first. Let's optimize this 4 through 40 in increments of 2. Here we can see that as we climb out into this range beyond 28, that's where things really start to level off nicely. So if we just pick a value of 30, which is not as far from a outlier, we can feel safe as using 30 for the average length. This is what our equity curve is currently looking like, looking much better. Let's go in and take a look at optimizing our average multiplier. Let's do that 0.5 to 2 in increments of 0.1. Here is the stacked graph. All right, here is the bar graph. I could see that possibly from 1.5 to 1.9, we'll just pick a value in the middle. This one here, 1.7. All right, this is what the equity curve is looking like. We have this big kind of pit that happens right in here all of a sudden, and it does pretty well, and we actually have new equity highs as of just a month ago, and overall looking pretty decent. We have $114,000 in net profit, 1.68 profit factor, about $786 per trade, and probably that drawdown of $41,000 is probably happening right there. Let's look at one last thing. We have yet to look at these conditions, so we can put custom easy language code in here. As long as we have a valid easy language statement that will evaluate to a Boolean, we can put that in here. So for example, for a condition long, let's pick the close must be greater than the close 20 days ago. So this is the condition for the long. So this is going to act as a filter that the close of today, the current close on that bar, I should say, on the current 15-minute bar, it has to be larger than the close 20 bars ago. And likewise for the close, it has to be less than the bar from 20 bars ago for a conditional short. Now I just picked 20. Okay, I believe that probably reduced that a fair amount. This is what the new equity curve looks like. This is the performance report, 122. K, 1.75 profit factor, $856 per trade, and our drawdown, yeah, is much better, 27,000. This is what this is looking like. So again, look what we did in just a few minutes. Again, this doesn't have any stops. This really isn't a complete trading system per se, but look what we did. This was all built by using these strategy components that come with this kit. And we just looked at really one of them, the Crable stretch, with just one or two filters. There's still the Knight versions and the Larry Williams versions that you can play with. None of these were really overly optimized, and you could take these and move them into the TradeStation development environment and use easy language to come up with all kinds of combinations, testing different filters on your custom filters that you may have. So this is completely flexible, and look what we did with just a few minutes of work. We came up with a prototype trading system on the gold futures market, and look what we did. Look at that equity curve. Now, if I was going to go ahead and actually create a system that I might trade, what you'd probably want to do, notice we use the data all the way up through 2015, and I just did this as an example of what's some potential. Probably what you would want to do is back this off to 2008 and 9 and leave the last year or two as out of sample. I'm really excited about the dynamic open, and I think you will be too once you understand the full potential. And I hope this brief video gave you an insight to what's possible with a dynamic open. Again, the dynamic open is completely different than what's currently available anywhere else out there. Murray came up with something that's very unique and very powerful, and he's limiting this technology to system trader success readers and his current client base. And I know for sure he is going to limit this on a time base. He's not going to keep this available open for everyone forever, because I know he's real excited to start actually implementing full-blown trading systems himself, and he will shut this down where he won't be selling this. And that's not false scarcity. I'm not just saying that to urge you guys to buy this. If you're not into open range breakout systems, if you don't like trading the futures market, of course you may not be interested in this. This does work on the stock market as well, and I hope to explore that in another article. But again, You've seen the power of the dynamic open. Look what you're able to do with just adding these strategy components right here in the window of the chart, and we came up with something within a few minutes. So I'm real excited about this, and I hope you found this inspirational and helpful. Okay, the dynamic toolbox, it resurrects the open range breakout. So we have an extremely powerful software package. So I'm really happy to make this offer to followers of System Trader Success. So what do you get with the dynamic open toolbox? Well, the first thing you get also is the intraday open range breakout toolkit. So you get all the dynamic open tools, which contains, of course, the dynamic open, which is based on the trading activity, but you also get all the old classic methods. There's a lot of other options that will work with the standard breakout, many stocks and ETFs, for example. So you're going to get the dynamic open and you're going to get the intraday open range breakout toolbox, which contains the classic. And we looked at those in the video you just watched. Of course, this is going to come with all the Crable-based strategies, the Knight-based strategies, and the Williams-based strategies. So all the classic strategies that work so well to take those small seed accounts to multi-millions actually are included in this in the intraday as well as the dynamic open. So you get both flavors of those. There's also strategy shells to get you started, and of course this is fully open source. I can't highlight that enough, that you can get your hands in there and actually use the functions within these Crable, Knight, and William-based strategies and then customize them completely to your liking. It's fully open sourced. It's really great. And of course, there's a full user manual. There's one last thing you're going to get. The GMO shell trading system. You can trade the beans, corn, and wheat with Murray's new dynamic open technique. Now the shell system, you can use this as a springboard to start building your own system. So the GML shell trading system is a trading method based around the dynamic open to trade these futures markets, the commodities, and you can use this as a springboard. So this source code is available when you purchase. So this is only available for $349, which is an absolute steal. I've told Murray, I'm like, I don't know why you're offering this so little. I think it's worth far more than this. So the only gotcha here is this offer is going to end on December 25th at midnight. So if you're at all interested in this, and I think this is really a premier package for such a fantastic price, please act swiftly because this will be disappearing. And again, I can't emphasize enough that you're not going to find this anywhere else. This package is only available through System Trader Success and through Murray's website. Thanks a lot, Murray, for making this available. I know I really appreciate it, and I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to take advantage of this and really enjoy this package. They're going to come out with some fantastic systems, and I hope if you do purchase this, I hope you let me know how it works for you. Let me know what you come up with, because I'd be really curious to see what you come up with. And I'm sure there's going to be some people out there that create some systems that are just going to be fantastic. Murray, again, is going to be closing this on December 25th at midnight. I know he's going to be using this for future systems, and you will not be able to get this package at this price or at any other price for that matter in the future. So without further ado, hey, thanks a lot for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it, and I hope you found this video helpful.